Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán was not born into power, but he would rise to become one of the most feared and influential drug lords in history. Born in 1957 in the rural town of La Tuna, Mexico, he grew up in poverty, working in the fields and learning early that survival meant cunning, toughness, and ambition. From modest beginnings, he entered the world of organized crime, initially helping local traffickers move small amounts of marijuana and cocaine. El Chapo's intelligence and ruthlessness quickly set him apart. He had a remarkable ability to blend charm with violence, making allies while striking fear into enemies. By the 1980s, he had joined the Guadalajara Cartel, one of Mexico's largest drug trafficking organizations. When the cartel eventually dissolved, he co-founded the Sinaloa Cartel, which would go on to dominate the global drug trade. He became known not only for his wealth, but also for his audacious and violent strategies. Unlike many criminals who hid behind others, El Chapo frequently went to the front lines, personally inspecting shipments and managing operations. He gained a reputation for being nearly untouchable, partly due to his network of informants, bribes, and loyalty among cartel members. By the 1990s, Guzmán had expanded operations across Mexico, the United States, and even parts of Europe. His organization handled massive shipments of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana, generating billions of dollars annually. This rise attracted not only fear from rivals, but also intense attention from law enforcement. Despite the looming threat of capture, El Chapo's audacity only grew. He began to develop one of his most notorious traits: the ability to escape, often in ways that defied conventional prison security. His charm, planning, and understanding of the weaknesses in the law enforcement system became as famous as his criminal empire. El Chapo was no ordinary criminal. He was a symbol of ingenuity, ruthlessness, and the audacity of one man to defy one of the most powerful governments in the world. By the time authorities made their first serious attempts to arrest him, he had already set the stage for a criminal career defined not just by wealth and violence, but by his legendary escapes. And it was this cunning that would lead to what the world would call the greatest prison break in history. El Chapo's criminal empire made him a prime target for law enforcement, and his first major arrests would test his legendary cunning. In 1993, after years of evading authorities, Mexican police finally captured Guzmán in Guatemala and extradited him to Mexico. He was convicted on charges of murder, drug trafficking, and organized crime. At the time, many believed his capture would finally put an end to his reign. However, El Chapo had learned the art of turning confinement into opportunity. He understood the weaknesses in Mexico's prison system: corruption, poorly trained guards, and lax security protocols. Within a few years, he began planning his first great escape. By 2001, he was being held at the Puente Grande Federal Prison, a high-security facility near Guadalajara. Even here, Guzmán's network was active. Cartel members bribed guards, smuggled in tools, and relayed messages. It was only a matter of time before opportunity struck. One night, under the cover of darkness, El Chapo put his plan into action. Using a laundry cart pushed by corrupt prison staff, he made his way through the facility. The tunnels and hidden passages he had prepared went unnoticed, a testament to meticulous planning and insider knowledge. By morning, the authorities discovered he had vanished, leaving behind only his footprints and the stunned disbelief of Mexican law enforcement. His escape wasn't just a jailbreak, it was a message. It demonstrated that Guzmán was not only powerful outside the prison walls, but also inside them. His audacity captured global attention, and his legend grew. After his escape, El Chapo quickly resumed control of the Sinaloa cartel, reorganizing his operations and continuing to expand his empire. He became a symbol of both criminal ingenuity and the failures of law enforcement to contain him. This first major escape set the stage for a lifetime defined by daring evasion. Over the following years, Guzmán would face multiple arrests. Yet each time he managed to slip away, often in ways that defied imagination. His methods were daring, his execution flawless, and his reputation as the king of escape cemented in the annals of criminal history. By the time authorities planned to recapture him in the early 2000s, the world knew they were dealing with a man who had turned escaping prison into an art form. A man who could vanish in plain sight and reappear stronger than ever. By 2015, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán was back in custody, held at Altiplano Maximum Security Prison, one of Mexico's most secure facilities. Surrounded by towering walls, armed guards, and state-of-the-art surveillance systems, it seemed impossible for anyone to escape. But for El Chapo, impossible was merely a challenge. Months before the escape, Guzmán and his team had meticulously studied the prison's layout. They identified weak points, bribed key personnel, and coordinated a network of cartel members outside who would handle logistics. The plan was unprecedented in scale and daring, one that would ultimately stun the world. The escape involved a secret tunnel dug directly beneath the prison. Over time, supplies were smuggled in secretly. Shovels, lights, ventilation pipes, and carts for transporting dirt. The tunnel extended over a mile underground, connecting the prison shower area to a safe house outside. It was not only a feat of engineering, but also an operation that required extreme patience, precision, and secrecy. On the night of July 11th, 2015, El Chapo executed the escape. Guards conducted their routine checks, unaware that beneath their feet, the cartel's tunnel awaited. Guzmán removed a manhole cover in the shower and climbed down into the narrow passage. The tunnel, complete with lighting and even a motorized cart, allowed him to travel quickly and safely to the exit point in the nearby house. By morning, authorities discovered that El Chapo had vanished once again. Panic and disbelief spread across Mexico and the world. How could a man escape from the country's most secure prison, evading hundreds of armed guards and dozens of surveillance cameras? The escape was more than a breakout. It was a demonstration of ingenuity, patience, and audacity. The media quickly dubbed it the world's greatest prison break in history, and Guzmán's reputation as the king of escape was solidified. International law enforcement agencies scrambled to track him, and the manhunt became a global story, captivating the world with both fascination and fear. This escape wasn't just about freedom. It was a testament to El Chapo's cunning and the far-reaching influence of his criminal network. Even behind bars, he had always remained in control, orchestrating an operation that would go down in history. The news of El Chapo's escape sent shockwaves across the globe. Governments, law enforcement agencies, and media outlets were stunned that the man once called untouchable had vanished from one of the most secure prisons in the world. Within hours, Mexico launched a nationwide manhunt, mobilizing hundreds of police officers, soldiers, and federal agents. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and Interpol joined the search, recognizing that Guzmán's influence extended far beyond Mexico's borders. Social media exploded with speculation and updates. Journalists tracked every reported sighting, while analysts dissected how the escape could have been executed. The tunnel, revealed later through investigations, showed not only Guzmán's ingenuity, but also the corruption that allowed him to operate undetected. Key prison staff had allegedly been bribed, and certain surveillance blind spots had gone unmonitored. El Chapo, meanwhile, went underground. His cartel connections ensured safe houses, new identities, and escape routes across Mexico. The Sinaloa cartel, though temporarily destabilized by his absence, continued operations, and the manhunt became a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Reports emerged of sightings in rural areas, border towns, and even in remote hideouts in the mountains. The world watched in amazement. Commentators called the escape a masterclass in criminal engineering, while governments scrambled to prevent a repeat. For law enforcement, capturing El Chapo again became a top priority, not only to restore national pride, but to dismantle one of the most powerful criminal networks in history. Media coverage painted him both as a criminal mastermind and a figure of legend. Documentaries, news reports, and social media posts chronicled his previous escapes, showing a man who had repeatedly defied law enforcement. Each escape reinforced his mythos. El Chapo was not just a drug lord. He was the king of escape, a man who turned confinement into an arena of cunning strategy. For the Mexican public, the escape was a mixture of fear and frustration. The government had promised security and justice, yet one man had once again embarrassed the authorities on a global stage. Citizens demanded answers, and investigations revealed cracks in the prison system, corruption, and lapses that allowed one of history's most infamous criminals to walk free. The manhunt lasted months, involving intelligence gathering, undercover operations, and international collaboration. It was one of the largest, most expensive, and most complex operations ever undertaken to recapture a single individual. And through it all, El Chapo remained a ghost, elusive, and terrifyingly clever. Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán's escapes left a permanent mark on the world, redefining the perception of high-profile crime and prison security. After months of pursuit, he was eventually recaptured in January 2016, following a meticulously planned raid by Mexican Marines in Los Mochis. However, his legend had already been cemented. The man who had outsmarted some of the world's most sophisticated security systems multiple times had achieved near-mythical status. His escapes were studied globally by law enforcement and criminologists alike. They revealed the vulnerabilities of even the most secure prisons, corruption among staff, blind spots in surveillance, and the necessity of addressing the human factor in security. Governments revamped high-security facilities worldwide, implementing stricter protocols, more thorough inspections, and advanced monitoring to prevent similar breaches. El Chapo's story also sparked debate about the balance between justice, deterrence, and security. While some viewed his repeated escapes as embarrassing failures for authorities, others saw them as cautionary tales, illustrating the lengths criminal organizations would go to regain power. His audacity highlighted not just his cunning, but also the scale and sophistication of the Sinaloa Cartel. For the public, El Chapo became a symbol of both fear and fascination. Documentaries, books, and films chronicled his rise, empire, and escapes, portraying a man who consistently challenged law enforcement. His escapes demonstrated a rare combination of intelligence, patience, and planning that few criminals in history had achieved. Yet behind the legend lay stark realities. Guzmán's freedom caused immeasurable suffering. Violence, drug trafficking, and corruption continued during his time on the run. Families of victims, law enforcement officials, and entire communities bore the consequences of his actions. His story is a reminder that criminal brilliance, no matter how impressive, carries devastating costs. Ultimately, El Chapo's legacy is twofold. He is remembered as the world's greatest escape artist, a man who turned confinement into an arena of strategy and cunning. Simultaneously, his story serves as a warning. Even the most brilliant plans cannot erase the consequences of a life built on crime. In the end, history remembers El Chapo not just for his criminal empire, but for the audacity and ingenuity of his escapes. Lessons in both human cunning and the importance of relentless vigilance in the pursuit of justice. Thank you so much for watching this story till the end. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned something from it. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, full of life lessons, drama, and emotions, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Your support means the world, and it helps me keep bringing you more inspiring and unforgettable stories. Stay tuned because more amazing stories are on the way.